What you are advocating for here, Piers, is censorship on a show called Piers Morgan Uncensored? Does he not realize the pure irony of this? Hey world, welcome back to Keith's Universe. So one of the most outspoken anti-vegans, who is so anti-vegan that he's practically made it his entire personality, and that person is Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan is living proof that nobody obsesses over or talks more about veganism than the anti-vegans themselves, which is kind of ironic. Vegans, and particularly vegan activists, have the pleasure, or rather displeasure, depending on your point of view, of living rent-free inside the mind of Piers Morgan. It really and truly is quite something. So today I'm going to be reacting to and responding to some of his worst arguments directed at vegans and veganism. So the following clips I shall be featuring in this video are taken from another video entitled Piers Morgan versus Vegans, which is a compilation video that was uploaded to the Piers Morgan Uncensored YouTube channel. Let's watch.
Although I would point out animals eat a lot of animals, just for the record, naturally.
I mean, with arguments as bad as that, one has to kind of wonder, where exactly does Piers accumulate his research and arguments? Is he like scouring through Twitter or some of the worst corners of Reddit to find these arguments? Because it pretty much sounds like every edgelord who has ever had a gripe with veganism. But if these are in fact Piers's own original thoughts, I have to say Piers is really illustrating his ignorance here. No vegan is trying to say that wild animals living in the wild do not have prey, because of course a wild animal living in the wild is going to have prey. And yes, that does involve these animals killing other animals for food. But here's the difference. They are living in an environment of survival of the fittest, while humans are not. We, meaning human beings, are not living in the wild, and we are not required to kill other creatures to survive. I mean, all it takes is a very basic understanding of evolution to understand that very simple concept. Human beings, whether you like it or not, have evolved beyond the necessity of killing other animals in order to survive and in order to provide ourselves with food and clothing. And there's also the fact that the animals that human beings do consume are animals in farmed captivity. They don't have very much freedom in terms of how much they can move, where they can go. A lot of these animals are caged, or at least limited in some degree in terms of space they are provided. So it is very rare indeed for different animal species, cows, pigs, and chickens, to congregate together, so they're not really going to have that opportunity to try to kill each other and feed off their flesh and so forth. There's also the fact that these animals are predominantly herbivores due to how controlled their diets are, because they are being kept within captivity within animal agriculture.
You know, Tommy, over here I railed against vegan sausage rolls. I didn't like the way they appropriated the language of meat products. I don't think vegan companies should be allowed to use words like sausage rolls or steaks, because that's meat.
What you are advocating for here, Piers, is censorship on a show called Piers Morgan Uncensored? Does he not realize the pure irony of this? I mean, you accuse vegans of getting hangry or angry or whatever it is, and yet here you are getting offended over vegan sausage rolls or Beyond Steak. And Piers, you can have whatever gripe you want with companies such as Greggs or Linda McCartney for having products called vegan sausage rolls. But whether you like it or not, language evolves, and so do words and definitions. And I know if Piers were to respond to me, he would probably say something on the lines of, well, you're just making up meanings for words. And yes, I would be making up meanings for words. That's how language works, Piers. Come on now, you're a journalist. You know this stuff. Because if Piers Morgan was honest and he did the proper research, he would know the etymology of the word meat. Literally just means food. It's true. The word meat comes from the Old English word meat, spelled M-E-T-E, which means food in general. Which is why it is more than appropriate for us to use terms like vegan meat. And while Piers gets so offended over the concept of a vegan sausage roll, there have been many names for foods that have been appropriated to different foods without any protest. At least no protest from Piers Morgan. Because Piers Morgan doesn't care about those for some reason. Is he getting riled up over the term coconut? Because according to Piers's logic, that name should only be reserved for actual nuts. How dare fruit suppliers call their products nuts when they are clearly not nuts at all? What about peanut butter? It's not really a butter in the traditional sense. And peanuts, well, technically they're not really a nut. It's actually a legume. Then we have cream crackers. He doesn't seem to mind those, even though they actually aren't made with any cream. However, if one was to take a said cream cracker and spread it with vegan cream cheese, Piers Morgan would lose his goddamn mind, demanding that we go and call it something else. Well, here's a better idea, Piers. Why don't you actually live up to your show's name?
Are you against animal cruelty, Piers?
Yes.
Then why do you support animal cruelty when you support the
I
meat
don't.
industry?
I've defended the bees for years.
Piers, cut the crap, okay? We all know that you couldn't give a flying toss about those bees. That is a complete and utter bad faith argument. This is textbook guilt activism. Because if Piers Morgan actually meant anything he said about caring about the bees, he would be telling us how important it is for bee population to abstain from consuming honey. Because the fact is, the honey trade is a massive component to bee depopulation. Because this argument is just as dishonest as that other tired out argument from other anti-vegans who claim they are so concerned about the plants being murdered. They're so concerned about these poor plants, yet they support the animal agriculture that actually uses more plant-based feed to animals in farm captivity. Yet Piers loves using this same tired out, recycled argument over and over and over again.
So do you eat avocados and almonds?
I'm not assaulting.
Do you eat them?
Do you consume honey, Piers? Do you consume honey? You say you care so much about the bees. Does that mean that you abstain from consuming honey? Because I really doubt it. And I would call this performative, but at least most forms of actual performative activism have some level of believability, because the fact is, I don't believe he is telling the truth.
Do you eat avocados?
Yes.
Wait, what? I thought his entire point is that he cares about the bees. So he's basically just proven to us, not that we needed much proof, that he not only does not actually care about the bees, he doesn't care about honesty. Because all this is, and all this has ever been about with you, is attacking a group you don't like. Because you got all hot and bothered because you saw an ad for Greg's vegan sausage rolls. Grow up, Piers. Grow up. And it's not just vegans he does this to, by the way. He has very similar tactics and attitudes towards trans activists, feminists, with the exception of the TERFs, although it is arguable whether a TERF is a real feminist or not, but that's another issue, along with those who are critical towards the royal family, and the list goes on. He is an extremely biased interviewer and journalist, if one can really even call him a journalist at this point. He has a complete inability to formulate a logical argument, especially when he's on the opposing end of a debate. All of his arguments are from pure emotion and feeling. Constantly refuses to accept proven studies and other scientific data.
It's true.
These are agricultural stats
That is
from
not
America.
true.
And
Read
you're
the
still lying.
Read the
that contradict his bad research and own ignorance and bias. Piers Morgan is without a doubt an insufferable windbag, and I wouldn't mind him being this insufferable so much if he at least cared about the truth. This is a man who has admitted live on his own show that he doesn't care about the scientific data. So basically, he doesn't care about truth. And I have no respect for anybody who has actually admitted that they don't care about the truth. What sort of a journalist doesn't care about the truth? That to me is wild. It's insane. So those are my thoughts on some of Piers Morgan's takes on veganism. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments, or if you want to leave a video response, hit me up on the Nerdy Keat Reddit and share your video response there. And until next time, everyone, bye world! Thanks again for watching, everyone, and supporting this channel. Feel free to check out some of these videos displayed on screen from this channel and the Nerdy Keat channel. You can also follow me on Bluesky and Mastodon.